Hello, everyone, and welcome to another midweek chat with Jasmine. I'm your host, Jasmine Bryant, your brand visibility coach, helping network marketers, coaches, and small business owners to leave the 9 to 5 that they desperately want to get out of. Raise your hand if that's you. And make more money, more leads, more sales. Yes, exactly. And so today with me, I have Rachel Gaddis. She is a career transition coach. Speaking of leaving the 9 to 5, and she focuses on helping women with ADHD over 40. And hi, you're speaking directly to me.
There are a
So
lot of us
welcome.
out there, right?
Yeah, for sure. And so before I jump in and really like dig deep into all these things that I want to ask you, that I want us to talk about, just tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Absolutely. First of all, I am so excited to be here today with you. You're so fabulous. So thanks for having me on.
Thank you for
Yeah,
being here.
so my name's Rachel Gaddis, like Jasmine said, and I have ADHD myself, which probably doesn't surprise you guys. I was diagnosed a little late in life myself. I was 44 when I got that diagnosis, and it completely shocked me. Uh, and I had already been kind of a chronic career hopper, kind of jumping around from career to career, starting over again, somewhere new, trying to figure out what I should be doing with my life. And it felt like all around me were people who they had already figured that out. They had gone to school for something, they were doing the job that they had trained for. They just kept climbing the ladder, right, in that job, getting better and better at it. And meanwhile, I was over here like making a series of lateral moves so that I could just got kind of good at a lot of things, but that kind of doesn't translate well in today's world. So
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, eventually I found myself in a job that was sort of a better fit for me. It was being a scrum master and agile coach for tech teams. And I got more and more into the coaching side of that, like studying coaching, taking classes, working my way toward a certification. And I realized this was what I really wanted to do. Um, so eventually that road led me here. I mean, I had a few little blips on the radar, right? Like a breast cancer diagnosis here,
Oh,
like the ADHD diagnosis later, which was kind of like a big aha moment. And I was like, that explains a lot, right?
yeah.
Um, and so that's how I ended up here. I was like, wow, it took me decades to figure out what I wanted to do. And I would love it if I could help other women to do this more efficiently, right? Kind of take everything I learned from my own journey, plus all of the things I've learned from coaching and like agile coaching and just all of the various things I've learned in my own career changes and stuff, and just, put together something that helps other women to do this more quickly.
I love that. I love that because, like you said, there are a lot of women who are in their 40s, 50s, and beyond who,
Yeah.
I mean, because look, part of the thing is because I am well over 40, right? And
Mhm,
so,
mhm.
as a child in the 70s and 80s, there were no ADD and ADHD diagnoses. You were just an active child told to sit down. You were told to
Mhm.
sit on your hands. Sorry, sit on your hands, stop fidgeting, focus, all those different things. And as we get older, now we know, oh, this is why would run around like a maniac. This is why I could read 5 books at once. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I still do that, by the way.
yeah, same. My poor Kindle can't keep up. Um, and so I think it's really great. It's such an important thing that you're doing to help women to to figure out how to do something new and to be focused as much as we can to do that
Yeah,
because like my audience is like I help women who are trying to leave their 9 to 5 jobs transition into a full-time
yeah. So
self-employment.
important. It's so hard
Yeah,
to do, right? It's not
yeah,
easy to figure out how to make that happen.
yeah. So what is it too late? Like if
Oh my
someone's watching
gosh.
this who's in there like 45, 50, is it too late for
45,
her?
50, 55. It's never too late. It's fascinating to me how many of us worry, right, that we're too embedded in what we've done, or that we might as well just tough it out and wait for retirement, right, or
Mhm.
whatever, like wait for whatever that thing is we think we're waiting for. And it's not too late. I mean, when you think about how many years we live, right? We're going to live to be like 80, 90, possibly 100, depending on how your genes and your family work. And you think about it and you're like, you're probably only halfway through your life at 40, 45. Like, do you really want to keep going? And this is something we
Mhm.
all have to decide for ourselves. I'm not here to tell anybody how to live their lives, but you got to ask yourself, like, do you really want to keep going for that many more years, as miserable as you probably are if you're thinking about putting that much work into changing things? And that's a question only you can answer, but you have to decide, what are your priorities, what really matters to you. Um, but to answer your question, it's never too late. I mean, you and I both know this. It is never too late. And that's kind of one of the first things that I talk to people
Yeah.
about. It is never too late. That's like my big message I want to put out there in the world. It is never too late to change things for yourself.
Yeah, I love that. Like I have a coworker who desperately wants a different career, and he's a bit younger than I am, like I guess maybe early to mid 40s.
Yeah.
And his biggest fear is I'm too old to start over. I don't want to
Hmm.
start at the bottom. I don't want to,
Hmm.
try something new and then fail.
Jasmine, your video kind of froze for me. I'm not sure if Jasmine is still there. She may not be, she may be coming back on, um but yeah, I mean, that is so common when people are, uh, worried that it's too late, worried that they're gonna have to start at the bottom. I think Jasmine and I both have seen a lot of that, and, it's the same thing that I just said, where you have to figure out what your priorities are and how you are going to, um measure those up. I mean, that's one of the first things that I work with people on right after saying it's never too late, right? And I say, I work with them on their personal values versus their work values. And also, what are the things that are most important to you and how do you prioritize them? Because a lot of times we've never done that for ourselves. We almost feel like we aren't allowed to figure out what's most important to us and prioritize that. And once we do that, it's really interesting to see, is status really more important to us than happiness or creativity or working with people we like or our family life? Like, there are just so many things that can be career deal breakers or career deal makers. So, yeah, I mean, that ruthless prioritization is critical. Do we have anyone on who has any questions? I know we've got a chat. Try to find it. See if I can find Jasmine too. So yeah, when women come to see me, they are usually uh, really unhappy with their careers, really uh, pondering that question of, am I going to start over in something new or not? So they're really wrestling with that decision and they're trying to figure out, what am I going to do next? Hey, there you are. I was kind of talking with people until you came back.
Thank you. My
I could tell
internet,
you kind of froze.
yeah, my internet went off.
Here you go.
So let's see. Ah, there we go. Okay, yeah, my internet went out. So
Yeah.
I'm using my phone.
Hey, way to roll with the punches and be flexible.
Yeah, so fingers crossed it still goes. But you can see me, you can hear me.
Yeah, yeah, you look great. You sound great.
Okay, perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
I am so sorry about that, guys. This is like the second time this has happened, which is so
Oh
weird.
no, that
Yeah,
is weird.
it's very weird. So we were talking about it's never too late to start over.
It's never too late. And you were mentioning a colleague that you have who he's a
Oh
little bit
yeah.
younger, and
Mhm.
he's worried that if he changes careers, he would be having to start at the bottom. He just
Yeah.
has those typical fears, right, about that.
Yeah. There's a lot of anxiety about that for him and
Mhm.
for a lot of people. And, like I've had a lot of different careers. I do a lot of different things. Uh,
Yeah.
and and I think it all just enriches me to give me newer experiences each time.
Mhm.
So I think, like you said, it's never too late. And I love that you help people to get over that fear.
Yeah.
What are some of the ways that you help people to just really feel like it's okay for me to do what fulfills me?
Yeah, I think, and I was saying this to your audience while we were kind of while I was chatting while you were gone, but one of the big things is by taking a really hard look at what your core motivators are, right? What are the
Mhm.
things that are most important to you? And every coach does this a little bit differently, but I have some like customized exercises that I've created for my own clients where we kind of work
Okay.
through, what are your values? What are your kind of things that you really have to have in your life, in your job, in your day, right? To make it livable, but also to make you happy, to bring you joy.
Yeah.
And then we kind of try to put those in priority order so that you can kind of see, sometimes for the first time, how they kind of stack up against each other. um, and sometimes what we find out is that you're getting some of those, in your job. You're just not getting enough of them. Other times, what we find out is that your job is kind of like diametrically opposed to the things that you really have to have in your life.
Mhm.
Um, and that can kind of be an aha moment where you're like, wow, I'm never going to get what I need in this career or at this employer. And so I do have to make a move. I mean, sometimes when people see on paper what's truly important to them, it sort of lights a fire under them to be like, okay, now I get it. Now I see what I have to have. And I want it more than ever.
No, I love that, putting it down on paper. My aunts are both very much into lists, and I've never been a list
Mm,
person, and I've always attributed that to, my hyperactivity. Um, but but I love that, you talk about, like, putting it on paper so you can really see what is important.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that about not being a list person because I have all different sorts of clients. Some of them are more like, image people. And so when I give them these exercises, I'm often like, do it in whatever way makes sense to you, right? Like sometimes
Mhm.
it's like I give them this like PDF or whatever, and I don't want to force them into filling it out the way that I've given it to them. So I'm like, if you need to jot it down on a piece of paper, if you need to make it and like draw a picture of what you need, like do it the way that makes sense to you. The point is for you to understand it, not for me to understand it. That's what I always tell them, because that's the
Yeah.
truth. I mean, we're trying to excavate your personal values, not explain them to me. We're trying to help you discover what you need and then figure out how you want to go after it. I'm really here just to kind of facilitate. I'm sort of there as a tool for my client to use.
No, I love that. And we all need, guidance. And, having someone in your corner is so key to
Yeah.
help you figure out A, what it is you want to do, and then B, how to actually make it happen once you have that in your mind. This is what I want to do, but then how do I do it? So,
Yeah, well, and we kind of touched on this a little bit, but I think another thing you and I know about is there's all this mindset stuff that is so important
Mhm.
when you're making any kind of major change, but especially I think a career change, which depending on your situation can kind of mess with your identity a little
Yeah,
bit because you might feel like, oh, but I have always been a teacher or an advertising person or whatever. And that's kind of intertwined with your feelings about who you are. And so, kind of disentwining those sometimes can be a little bit of a head shift. I don't know
yeah,
if you've seen a lot of that with your own clients when they try to leave corporate and they're sort of like, but part of me is still there, right?
yeah. Well, I've seen it with myself. As I mentioned, I've done 8 trillion things. And
Yeah.
one of them, like when I left my network television job in 2017 to move to
Mm.
France to sell essential oils. Basically, that's what I did. And people would
Ah,
ask,
I
what
love
did
it.
you, yeah, I was like, I'm done. And like, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, my answer's always been, I'm a journalist. Even
Right,
on the
right.
immigration cards, what do
Yeah.
you do? Journalist. Oh, wait, I'm not a journalist anymore. I'm, a wellness advocate. I sell essential oils.
Yeah,
But you're
yeah.
so wrapped up into, your career because we've had it for so long, even if it's been, different jobs.
Right,
It becomes
right.
your
There's
identity.
sort of an overarching umbrella sometimes to what you've been
Yeah.
doing. I mean, I didn't really have that because my career changes were a bit, uh, maybe broader. So people would say, what do you do?" And I would be like, "Well, these days I'm."
Yeah.
So it was a little bit my career was almost changing careers, for many years, uh but
Yeah.
yeah, I think for a lot of people that's not the case. And so uh yeah, there's the identity thing. There's how am I going to explain this to other people or what will they think of what I'm doing now? Because sometimes it's
Mhm.
like, well, as an attorney, people were like, "Ooh, you're an attorney." And then as a whatever I'm doing now, it won't sound as impressive, right? So
Right.
how will I be judged? And then we have to thread through like what's more important to you, right? And there's no judgment there, but like, do you care
Mhm.
more about what people think, or do you care more about your own sanity and happiness? And
Yeah.
only you can decide, right? I mean,
Mhm.
I'm here to facilitate whatever you want, but you have to decide that before we know what you want to go after.
Absolutely. And one of the things, when women are going after their new career, their new path, whether it's, still staying in the corporate, my clients moving out of their 9 to 5, whatever that is, and then going into being self-employed, being visible
Mhm.
and, putting themselves out there is so key,
Yes.
especially when you
Yes.
are a small business owner or a coach. People need to know what
Yep.
you sell, what you do, who you are. But as a woman, it's tough. But as a woman with ADHD, it can be even tougher. Um,
Oh my gosh, yes.
like how do you help those women? How do you help them kind of really get out of their own way, so that
Yeah.
they can show off who they are?
Well, the first thing that I've done is to walk in their shoes by navigating this myself because it was unexpectedly terrifying to put myself
Mhm.
out there when I hung out my shingle as a coach, and
Yeah.
you know this. I mean, people are buying from you when
Mhm.
you're a coach. There are certain businesses where you are the brand, right? And coaching is definitely one of those, types of things. You can't like shove your product front and center without putting yourself out there because you are the product essentially. So
Yeah.
I had to really be authentically me uh, in a way on social media that I never had been before, and it was a little bit terrifying, to be honest. I mean, those first few posts that I put out there with my face and my own thoughts it
Mhm.
was like I really had to think through what am I afraid of? Whose judgment am I picturing when I put these posts out there and I hesitate? So I had a lot of internal work to do. And that's one of the things that I help people with when they're because I did the work myself, I'm in a position to help other women do that. So I can say, let's talk about what you're really afraid of. Like, what is that worst case scenario that you're so terrified of? Or I help them think through, I listen so carefully to their wording.
Mhm.
This is one of the things I think is a real gift from a good coach that you work with is that they listen to you more carefully than you've ever been listened to in your life. And then they can pick out words and stances and feelings from what you've said that you didn't hear. And they're like, I heard you say this, what did
Yeah.
that mean? Like, or tell me more about, you know, I'm afraid of them. Like, who's them? And you're like, did I say that? I didn't know I said that. And when you think about it, it's true. You are. There is a them. You just had never been called on it before.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And so many women, it's that fear of judgment,
So
that
much, so
it's like,
much.
and it's like people are going to judge you anyway, no matter what you do or don't do. So you might as well
Right.
do what's going to, serve you, let them
Yeah. Well,
judge.
and also like the people that have opinions, people are going to have opinions, but also the people you're looking for. You're only looking for some of the people. There's like
Mhm.
all the people, and then you're only looking for your people. So the people that don't like you, great. I mean, let people not like your message. That's perfect. Those people need to go somewhere else anyway. You don't want those
Yeah.
people. You only want to speak to the people that your message resonates with. So, yeah,
Mhm.
be opinionated, have unpopular opinions. That's great
Yeah.
because you want to find your people. And the best way to find your people is to alienate the other people. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just the truth. It's hard to,
Mhm.
especially if you're the type of person, and I definitely have this history, who's been a pleaser, who always tried to make everyone happy. It's hard to become someone who's okay with not doing that.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, it's still a little tough sometimes. Like as I grow like my email list and I
Uh-huh.
want to have a nice, robust email list, but I also don't want people around who don't want to actually hear my message. So while it
Yeah.
stings for a second when there's an unsubscribe, then it's like, oh, but that's fine because I'm not the person for them. And
Right,
they
right.
don't want to hear from me. So it's
Well, yeah, and when you dig deep into the marketing wisdom, they will tell you that a great big email list of 35,000 people that aren't your people does you no good because your conversion rates will be super low. Whereas
yeah,
a email list of 3,500 people that are super engaged and they're your people, that's like gold because they're
yeah,
really engaged. They care about what you're doing. They're invested. They're going to be converting highly, they're going to be following closely. That's what you want. So then the numbers don't matter
yeah,
nearly as much as the quality. It's like quality, not quantity, right? So
yeah,
yeah, those unsubscribes, they sting, but they're also an indication that you're alienating the right people and you're keeping,
yeah,
you're like focusing in. It's hard though.
exactly.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
hard.
Because I think social media is really to blame for a lot of that because we get so deep into wanting these vanity metrics that
Mhm.
don't, I mean, on the grand scale of things, they don't matter.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
yeah. Yeah,
So
and vanity metrics can be different for everyone, I feel like. Like
yeah.
people always get told to track what matters and don't
Mhm.
track vanity metrics. But, I think the dangerous thing is that one person's vanity metrics and another person's vanity metrics can be different at different
Yeah.
times. So you have to really be clear on what are your goals
Yeah.
and what are you trying to measure right now. And it's probably not that many things. Like if you're trying to grow your list, you're probably just tracking like one or two metrics,
Yeah.
and you don't have to worry about the others right now. And then when you move on to something else that you're trying to do, you're only tracking one or two other metrics and not
Mhm.
that worried about the others.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny what you said about social media because I've been thinking about this a lot, especially as a coach
Mhm.
trying to grow my business. There are so many people out there, coaches or other types of businesses that just kind of, you see this all the time. They're kind of fronting like they're super successful. They've got like all this stuff going on, and you can't really see what's behind that, but
Yeah.
you sort of get this sense that they're like winning on all fronts, and you kind of compare yourself to that
Oh,
and
yeah.
come up short. And I have this posted over here somewhere. Yeah, there it is. That says comparison is the thief of joy, to remind myself
It
not to
is.
do that, right? Not to compare myself with everybody else, either on a personal or professional level. And I probably have to look at that post up like 20 times a day.
Yeah, it's hard. It can be so hard, and I think especially for women because, we
Yeah.
feel that we have this high bar that we have to hit all the time, and I'm not saying don't shoot for the moon because I'm a Leo. I will shoot for the moon, the stars, every single planet in the solar system,
Yeah.
but, I have to remind myself that I'm my biggest competition.
Exactly. You set the bar.
Only Jasmine.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a really good reminder for people. So thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. Um, but before we go, I want to ask you about like networking because it's so key,
Oh.
right, to business and to life. And like we're collaborating and collaborating with other.
Mhm. Oh, lost her again, guys. She is having the worst internet luck today. But yeah, I loved where that was going with networking, and I do try to connect with people. Oh yeah, there you are again. You dropped for a second.
Oh,
You were
um,
asking about networking, like we're
yeah,
collaborating.
yeah. So I was saying that I'll forget names seconds.
Mhm.
So how do you help women like me? How do you help women to navigate the networking space when it's hard to focus, hard to remember, and other people don't really understand, how your brain works?
Yeah. Oh man, this is such a tricky one. And I'm the same way, right? I'll meet someone and then forget their name. Um, and I try to encourage them to think about what's going to work for them, right? I
Mhm.
mean, for some people, it's going to be a tracking sheet that they can refer to before their next contact with the person. For other people, it's going to be some kind of mnemonic, that they can sort of tie to the person's name, like, Jasmine rhymes with something else or whatever.
Mhm.
For other people, it's going to be something else, right? Like saving a picture along with the person, something like that.
Yeah.
Um, so I try to encourage them to think about what they want their systems to be. Not anything complicated, just something quick and simple that they can do as they're doing the work. Uh, and also something to make the networking fun, Right? Like, don't network on LinkedIn if you hate LinkedIn and you hate talking one-on-one to people. Like, find something that you enjoy and do that. I mean, like, one reason I do podcasting is because I like being guests on podcaster shows. I love the
Yeah.
conversation. I love all the people I meet. It's super fun for me. So that's why I do that. I don't do a lot of like public speaking engagements because that would feel like work for me. I wouldn't like it.
No.
So yeah, so pick your thing, right? Pick your venue, pick your method and do that. And it'll be much more enjoyable for you. So those are the things that I do. What about you? What do you tell people? I feel like you're kind of a master networker, right? The connections maven.
Oh my gosh. You know what? It's funny because number one, I'm incredibly shy. No one ever believes it, but
What?
yeah, I am incredibly shy. Um, but I I remember things about people when I meet them.
Hmm.
I will likely never recall their names and I
Yeah.
may forget their faces, but
Yeah.
I remember things that they've told me or that they've shared,
Yep.
and so that helps to build a connection.
Yeah.
And I can talk to anyone.
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
can talk to anyone at all. I mean, and I think that's partially, I mean, just while I am shy, I'm still a little bit of an extrovert. And so, and also being a journalist, I've been interviewing people for decades. So
Yeah.
I can talk to anybody. And so when I run across a client who is like, well, I'm afraid to collaborate with someone because I don't know what to say networking event because, I'm scared that people are going to talk to me. I will, just I'll tell them, and this is what I do, is something that feels genuine connection. When I was on
Hmm.
vacation last week, there was a guy who was sitting at restaurant and he was by himself. He looked a little uncomfortable, but he had on this really cool shirt with like all these flamingos on it. And I'm in Florida. I
Yeah.
love the little flamingos. Right?
Yeah.
I just said, and that turned into like a 90-minute conversation about,
Yeah.
everything and anything, the three of us. So just pick that one thing that feels genuine to you and, talk to someone and feel so nervous making, because you feel a connection.
Yeah. Yeah. That is such good advice. And you're reminding me too that I'm sort of right on that border between introvert and extrovert. And I'm
Mhm.
great at talking to people one on one. I'm terrible in groups. Like, take me to a big party where I don't know anyone, and I'll be the one in the
Yeah.
corner, like, kind of awkwardly, uh, with going to the snack
Waiting
table
for
or
the
whatever.
waiting for the floor to
Yeah.
swallow you up. Yeah.
Right, right. But, my thing is to be genuinely curious about people.
Yeah.
That's how I do it. I try to remember to just be genuinely interested, and I like to get people talking about themselves because people love to
Mhm.
talk about themselves. They never get
Yeah,
a chance to talk about themselves. And so
exactly.
that's kind of my MO. It's very similar to yours. I mean, I think it's just different ways to say the same thing. And I don't know
Yeah.
where I read it. I think I read it in one of those books, like an interview with Barbara Walters or somebody like that, like a long, long time ago. But yeah, I mean, that's really what I do. And I think whatever you do, like find a thing, right, that you can remember, like Jasmine's thing about finding a
Yeah.
connection and just hang on to it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So thank you, Rachel. And my internet is getting all janky again. So I popped in the chat the gift that you have for the audience, and I have one as well. So can you tell us about your guide here that you're sharing?
Yes. Yeah, so a lot of times getting started is the hardest part, and this is especially like times a million true for those of us with ADHD, will procrastinate, forever. And so, with that
Mhm.
thought in mind, I put together this little guide that's like just a couple of easy steps you can take. It's like 3 easy steps you can take to get a serious start on your career change, like today. And so, it's a free guide. You can download it. And, if you're one of those folks, like so many of us who have been thinking about getting started and putting it off, you can download this guide. They're really easy steps. They're not going to be, horrible or terribly time consuming. And
Yeah.
you can feel like you're getting a move on, right? And then that'll kind of tell you, do you want to keep going or
Love that. Love that.
not?
Thank you. That's very generous. And so, you guys definitely you want to click that link and connect with Rachel. And for anyone watching from Rachel's audience and even from my own, I'm offering you my 5 keys to beat camera shyness. So
Yeah.
it's
Ooh,
that's here as well. And honestly, that also they also help with, shyness in general, life, not just on camera. So you've got a lot of things that you can work on to really help you to shine into
love that.
if you're new you. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's awesome.
Ah,
Well, thank you,
I love
Rachel
that. This has
Gaddis.
been so fun. Thank you for having me on.
Same. Thank you. I am so sorry about the weird internet. I'm gonna stop the live in 2 seconds, but hang out for just a minute if you don't mind.
Mhm.
After I hit end stream. But you guys, we will be back next week with another midweek chat, and I can't wait to bring it to you and hear how you thought this chat was and what you've learned. I would love for you to put in the comments if you're watching the replay what your takeaways are and what your big challenges are and how you're going to move forward. So, Rachel, again, thank you so much. You guys at home, thank you for watching, and we will see you next week, hopefully with stable internet connection. All right, bye.